Right, let's get to our political panel of the day. Labor member for Maribyrnong, Joe Briskey, and LNP member for McPherson, Leon Rebello, here in the studio with me. Thanks both for your time. Of course. Might start with the social media ban, actually. It's making some headlines. TikTok apparently bullying staff of one of the senators. But we have heard from Snapchat and others saying they will implement this ban. They're going to do it.
Excellent.
So how's it going to play out? Are you confident this won't be, I don't know, parents, starts on December 10,
it does, yeah.
School holidays happening, suddenly they go, geez, my 15-year-old's hassling me a lot. They don't have social media anymore.
Look, I think it's going to work, and it's going to work well because, quite frankly, it has to. It's so important that we get this right and protecting our young people, giving them the opportunity for their childhood. The focus will be on the tech companies, and I'm glad to hear that they are all, confirmed that they'll be adhering to the ban. It will be the law. But I think there's also a lot of work that we are doing as a government to prepare parents and teachers and our community around the conversations they can be having with their young people. I, in fact, have a forum coming up in my community where I've invited the Minister to come along and speak directly with a range of other experts around how and why this is going to work and why it's so important.
How much is the opposition, Liberal Party, were always keen on this? Some noise was made about, I'm not sure if this will work. Are you willing to say ahead of time, we're backing this in, it's the right approach? If it doesn't work, it's not the government's fault?
Well, look, we have said we would be constructive on this, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I think there is a shared agreement that there is something that needs to be done because, quite frankly, young people across Australia in both of our electorates are suffering from mental health issues as a result of social media. We just need to make sure that it's carried out properly. I think there is also an element, and there will always be an element of parental responsibility as well. So it doesn't just end with this. I think there will be other components. It is quite concerning what we've heard about the intimidation with the Senator's office, and that's something we'll just keep an eye on.
So you mentioned parents. I mean, if there's a parent of a 15-year-old and they feel as though their 15-year-old has no issue, they'll be able to handle it and they don't want them to get off social media, should that be up to them? Fair enough. You wouldn't have an issue with that?
Well, this is where not every 15-year-old has parents who are able to, who are in a position to be able to monitor everything that they do. This is, I guess...
there's monitoring though, and then there's, I'm going to help them bypass it. Would that be the wrong thing to do?
Well, yes, it would be the wrong thing to do. This is the law that's being put forward. It's being put forward for a reason, and I think there's an opportunity here for government to work with families to actually say we want to address this issue. Where
do you sit on that? Should parents still feel free to make that decision themselves, or you see this as an ironclad law?
No, well, we made the point that this is up to the tech companies to prevent access to social media. It wasn't on parents, it wasn't on kids. We recognise, that there will be times where people get around it, but the emphasis is on the tech companies to prevent it from happening. And, I think it's about setting up a cultural shift and change about what we want to see as a minimum age of social media. And I think we're about to kick off. And
I'll be fascinated by it. Yeah, I've started locks on my phone just to look at the thing less.
Sure.
So, I reckon there's something in there for adults too.
Fair enough,
absolutely. Laws, anyway, there's my 2 cents in case anyone was wondering. The environmental overhaul that the bills Labor are putting in there, business groups saying don't split them, that's a bad idea. Is the coalition listening to that, or are you still thinking about splitting the bills or offering split support, I suppose?
Well, my understanding is that the Minister has ruled out splitting the bills. And
you won't push for that anymore?
Well, the Minister's ruled out. We extended that olive branch to say there are some parts of this that we think can get through and they're relatively non-controversial, and the government said no to that, and instead they're pushing everything in the same legislation. So, it's unfortunate that the Minister's ruled that out.
Well, plenty of people saying, though, you just fix it, even if it takes a bit of wrangling. That's the message being put to you, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think in the time that it's taking to negotiate with the Greens and the Coalition and to try and strike a deal, I think it's better for, and
it's only just out. It's only been a few days. That's not much time in this place, I can tell you.
Well, if the government's serious about protecting the environment and putting these laws through, we can put forward the non-controversial stuff.
So it's an interesting approach. I mean, talking to Brand Black earlier, he was talking about the potential power for the head of the EPA to be able to issue a stop work order on a project and have full control over that. No natural justice, just say, I've heard this is happening, there's an environmental issue, stop work. Is that too much power for an unelected official?
Look, I think what we have seen and what the feedback we've been getting from stakeholders, that this is getting about the balance right, about the laws that will help protect the environment, get that done, really important laws that we need to bring in to do that, as well as getting it right for business as well and getting out of the way and getting approvals done on housing and renewable projects and things like that. So I think we've got the balance right, and we're calling on this parliament to back it in. This has been a long time in the making. It was your leader that received the first report, and
Tanya Plibersek had to deal with the Greens, and then Albo said, "No, sorry, no dice." If we want to go back through the history of it,
we are keen to see this done, and we're looking for the parliament's support to get it through.
Okay, wanted to ask you as well when it comes to energy and electricity prices. Story today that the briefing given to the government at the start of this term, which is independent from the department, prices are going up until 2030. Is that what voters were told when Labor came to power? That's going to be a lot of years of increased prices.
Look, frankly, we are playing catch up after a decade of pretty problematic and, I think 22, 23 energy policies that we were under the last government. We've got and that is a consequence of that has been a range of old coal-fired power stations that are starting to come off. We need energy getting into
so
it.
8 years is what it'll take to play catch up. That's the message now.
We've got to
because that wasn't the message in 2022.
We know, and the experts show, that the more we can get renewables into the market, more that we can get them into the grid, the cheaper energy will be over the long term, and that's what we're focused on being able to deliver. And generally speaking, we are playing catch up because of such the inefficiency in the way in which the previous government ran energy policy for this country.
There's a lot of years of catch up. On the coalition side, the Liberal side, this debate over net zero, I mean, if you go to the next election saying you've scrapped net zero, is that going to be harder to win the election?
Well, Tom, if I just be able to respond to what was said previously, what we've seen come out today is actually quite concerning. It shows that the current reckless renewables at sort of with no alternative plan that the Chris Bowen and the Albanese government's doing is actually increasing the cost to consumers. And so where I would like to see the coalition go, and this is where we've already started having the discussions about this, and as a party we're able to actually have those debates and discussions, is to make sure that we are focused on cost to the end user, and we can do that while being focused on reducing emissions. Because what we're seeing now is emissions haven't actually gone down compared to where they were at when we left office. So despite all the investment and all the talk, there's actually no change to the environment.
I guess the issue in the short term, though, is gas is still staying there. Coal's closing because they get very old and inefficient. So the only solution we got last time from the coalition was nuclear, which will take a long time. That's going to take... If you started today, you might be lucky if we're up and running in 15 years. That's the reality, isn't it?
Well, I think that's only part of it. I mean, and we've
But what else would happen in the next 5 years? You know, I'll wave a magic wand, you're the minister. What will you do in the next 5 years to bring down prices?
Well, I think we've said as a coalition that we want to see a balanced mix, and that's what we took to the last election. Now,
You took the last election, nuclear, that was a big part of it.
Yeah, and
gas is staying in the system for Labor, we should say. They're not eliminating gas.
That's right, and I think as part of what will come out of the coalition party room in the coming weeks and months is a policy which will include a combination of gas, potentially nuclear and other things as well. So I think we need to have that all balanced approach rather than this all eggs in one basket approach.
There's still people saying we've got to make nuclear part of the mix in that debate. Would it be less prescriptive? Take off the moratorium and see what happens rather than the sort of prescriptive approach last time?
Well, I'd absolutely back in removing the moratorium as the first step. I think that's the first step that needs to be done, and then we can have those conversations about where it goes next.
Okay.
I think Leon hasn't really answered the question because he's been stuck, I think, in a coalition of great division when it comes to where to go next on energy policy and net zero. Right. I just want to point that out, Tom. I don't think he answered your question.